Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of Mondays with Meaning. Today's topic is pruning back limiting beliefs. So this month we've been talking about planting seeds for the upcoming year. And yes, sometimes when we plant, we run into big rocks and roots that are right under the surface of the soil and can inhibit our seeds from taking root. These boulders, these root patterns, are what I am calling limited beliefs. So, do you have some boulders in your garden? Welcome again to Mondays with Meaning. I'm Angela Ward, transformation coach, registered nurse, and CEO of Guardian at the Gateway, where we guide people through the wildness of rebirth to their healing on so many levels. And we're here today to talk about this lovely topic. So if you're watching live, please put something in the comments so I know that you're here. If you're watching replay, please put replay in the comments. If you're using Facebook and this is your first time watching, make sure to give StreamYard permission to show who you are so I can see in the comments who is posting. So that's where we're going. Are you ready? Please make sure that you have some notebook available so you can take some notes here, because I'm really excited about this topic and I think we're going to download a lot of information today. My phone just dinged at me. Let me turn my phone off because that's rude. So today we're going to talk about pruning back those limiting beliefs, and we're going to talk about clearing our garden of boulders, pruning our minds of these limiting beliefs. So what is a limiting belief? A limiting belief is the idea that something is not achievable for us because of X, Y, or Z. There's a reason that we can't. We believe that we cannot accomplish something. We can't do certain things in our life or think a certain way or feel a certain way because we've already got this structure that we default to about how we think. So why is a limiting belief harmful to us? As we talk about the idea of planting seeds and asking them to take roots, a limiting belief can really inhibit our growth, and it can also cause an immense amount of suffering in our lives. It's a tale that we tell ourselves that's really painful and difficult. Where do our limiting beliefs come from? This is a really great question. And in my experience, in my own life and working with others, I think they come from a number of places. I do think some of these limiting beliefs come to us from things we were exposed to or taught as children. It was also something that was modeled as true from the adults around us. And I want to acknowledge that it also comes from external conditions such as oppression, from racism, sexism. And I want to just recognize my own privilege here as a cis white woman, that there are so many layers to oppression, suppression, violence, racism, all of these things that can form mindsets that are beyond my capacity to have an insider's understanding of. So I'd like to tread lightly here and recognize that when I talk about limiting beliefs, this isn't just about you at fault for thinking wrong. I want to make sure that that's really clear. It's not me at fault for thinking incorrectly, that there are bigger systemic situations in place here that contribute to our lived experience of our limiting beliefs. And yet, there are ways that the external structures exist, but they don't have to exist in our minds and in the actions and the way we live our lives. So this is to kind of speak to getting our mindset to shift. So There's some techniques to this pruning, right? Much like we'd prune a rose bush, there's ways that we can prune back a limiting belief that really helps the plant thrive, right? It helps us thrive. There's a couple steps. There's 4 steps. So get your note paper out and you can write them down. The first step is awareness. Number 2, the second step is engaging with curiosity. Number 3 is honoring. And number 4 is repatterning. So let's start at the beginning. Number 1, which is the awareness piece, identifying and bringing a limiting belief into our awareness. So the question would be, what is a story that you tell yourself? What is something that you tell yourself over and over again about why you can't do something or why you have to do things a particular way? Another way to help identify and bring into awareness this limiting belief is, where in your life do you feel a sense of lack, of scarcity, of blocks, of that kind of struggle? Where are those? These are some places where these may indeed be limiting beliefs. So number 2, engaging with curiosity. Who taught you this belief? This is where you got to get curious. Who taught you this belief? Or was it something you figured out for yourself as a youngster? How old were you when you figured this out? What's the origin story of this belief? This is that curious place. When we engage with curiosity, it's much more difficult to experience fear. Fear and curiosity do not come from the same place. And then the next step, which I think is really important and often lacking in a lot of work around mindset, is to honor the limiting belief. It's important to recognize that your limiting beliefs came into your life as a system or a tool. It's a tool to protect and serve you. It's either something that you learned to take care of yourself, or it was handed down generationally. So I'd like to just allow, as we identify these limiting beliefs, the ways in which it may be true, the ways that it might have served you, and how it may have protected you. It's important to know that it's not just a pathology. It was a very creative way of keeping you safe, of keeping you and your family or whoever helped instill this limiting belief. It was keeping you safe, perhaps. I think when we talk about intergenerational trauma, there may be a little more there, and I don't want to just gloss over that, but just allowing yourself to recognize the possibility of some gratitude for how it may have served you, for example. And then number 4, the step of repatterning is repatterning with possibility. So we would then consider the ways in which your identified limiting belief may not be true. We just talked about how it might have been true, but how may it not be true? Consider then how you might feel if the opposite of your limiting belief were in fact the truth for you. How might it feel in your body, and how might your life be different? And from there, it's wonderful to create a mantra or an affirmation that kind of states what pattern of belief you wish to build in, rather than the current pattern you have that's the limitation. So I just kind of glossed through ways of pruning back these beliefs. And let me just reframe that. That's the steps to pruning are the awareness, bringing that belief into awareness, engaging it with curiosity, honoring the ways in which it served you or how it came from someone who thought they were serving you with that belief, and then repatterning with possibility, with possibility of something different. Now we can talk about it like this, and that can be a little hard to understand because we're kind of talking loose, like a concept. But let's instead work with an example of a limiting belief. Okay, are you ready? So put a little thumbs up or give me some hearts and likes if you're with me, if you're ready. And want to make sure that you have a notepad with you, or you have a way to take some notes, because I'm going to ask you to write a few things real quick. So an example of a limiting belief that we're going to work with right now is around what's called our money mindset. It's just fun to say money mindset because they have the two M's, but it's really around abundance is what that's about, and feeling secure and resourced. This is a common thread I've been hearing lately with good reason. Things do feel a little unstable in our world right now, but we can still work with the belief, right? We can still make the belief make meaning for us, and shift it to a way that helps us thrive instead of feeling shut down by it. So as I talk about the money mindset, again, I do want to recognize that there are systems of oppression and poverty that are beyond the scope of just this conversation, and that those are really a part of what people's lived experiences are. And I recognize my privilege. That's not a situation that I'm in specifically. And yet, I do believe that regardless of where you're at with your money mindset, if you're able to start shifting away the inhibiting beliefs versus the lived reality, like if you have it coming at you from the lived reality and you have it coming from inside your brain, like that's a lot. If we can loosen one of these things, then it might allow for change to happen in the external experience. So first of all, when we talk about money is really just energy moving through our system. It's a flow. It's a flow of a way that we exchange for one another, like exchanging energy, right? There's two poles when we think about money. There's the pole, we're talking polarity, North Pole, South Pole, the pole of scarcity. The mindset's often around this, like if we were talking about the garden analogy of planting seeds, is that only weeds grow here? I can't afford to grow my garden because there's no water, or the resources aren't available to get the ground to grow well. I see all these plants that don't seem to have any purpose. Whereas an abundance mindset in the garden analogy, may see how different plants contribute to the healthy ecosystem of the soil, how it might bring in pollinators that help the soil, etc., things like that. So that's kind of the difference between scarcity and abundance. Not just I have millions of dollars and I have $0, because that's not exactly where I'm coming from here. So let's talk about step number one about pruning these limiting beliefs and in a relationship to a money mindset is the awareness part. The first question is, what are your beliefs about money? So I'm going to ask you to answer these questions. You can write them on your notepad or you can pop them in the chat, either way. And I don't want you to think about them that hard. I'd like you to kind of just go blah with the first thing that arises. I'd like you to fill in the blank at the end of this question. Money is what? Feel free to put it in the chat or write it on your notepad. I'll give you a couple minutes to finish that sentence. Money is, I bet there's a lot of interesting things that can come to mind with that statement. All right, on to the second question. And there's so many questions we can ask around this, but these are just a few that I picked for today. For me, money means blank. Money means blank. Please fill in the blank. For me, money means again, you can post in the chat if you'd like, or you can just write it on, you keep it in your private notepad, because this can be some tender material. And then the final question we're going to play with for today is, one thing I know about money is blank. I saw a comment from Diana. I'm going to just share this real quick. I think it's great. Money is necessary. Wonderful. Thank you. Do other people feel that way? That seems like a good one. So again, those three questions were, money is blank. For me, money means blank. And one thing I know about money is blank. So some of the responses to this question that I hear from people is money is the root of all evil. Money means nothing. Money is, I don't know, another one. Let's see, like, money means I have to work really hard. Money, the one thing I know about money is everyone's fighting for it. So there's no right or wrong answer here around your beliefs around money. This is just part of step one of creating awareness of what you think about it. Diana shared, one thing I know about money is you can still have good things without it. I agree with that. Lovely. So see, this is part of why it's interesting to bring it into your awareness, because just because it's in your awareness doesn't necessarily mean it's limiting belief, right? Like, I think that's important. This person says, money means independence. That's a good one. So we've come up with some ideas here. And thank you for playing, everyone. That's really fantastic. So now we're going to engage these questions with curiosity, right? The questions are who taught you this belief? Is this a belief that you figured out for yourself? When you figured it out, how old were you? Just kind of be like, where is this? And what part of this is limiting? So you can kind of play with that back and forth. Like, I absolutely love what Diana said about you can still have good things without it. But in a way, if we deconstruct that sentence, there's the limiting belief that, I don't know, there's probably a little something there about whether or not it's valuable for you to receive money or have abundance or flow in your life in some way. So it's in place to engage, to look at that, to understand with the question of money means independence. So what does that independence mean? And then what does that mean behind that? For example, I think that I have a belief that money means independence in a way as well. But if I look a little under the surface of that, what that means is then therefore I have to have money to be independent. And therefore to get money, I have to work super hard to get it. And, like there's this whole thread that can come from these ideas, right? So that's kind of engaging with curiosity. The next step is honoring that belief system, honoring especially the limited belief components. Like, how did this idea come into your life as a tool to protect you? Was it something intergenerationally? Like, for me, when I think that I do have this belief that we have to work really hard to earn money, and that kind of an hour worked is an hour pay, and that profound work and being fatigued and exhausted after working super, super hard is kind of this badge of honor. And I recognize where that came from. That definitely came from my family of origin. It came from my parents' parents, who both were immigrants on both sides of their family, who suffered through the Great Depression and through World War II, and where things were rationed and very tight. So, and it doesn't mean it's not true to some degree. But it also means that if that's the only lens that I look through, it's really hard to create possibility for something else. So I honor that the messages I learned around money from my family were value driven and given to me as a tool to protect myself, to grow me as a healthy adult into this world, right? So now step number 4 is around repatterning with possibility. So we just talked about the ways in which these limiting beliefs may be true, right? They may be true to some degree, but in what ways may they not be true? How might they not be true? Is it 100% true for me that I have to work hard to earn money? Have there ever been times in my life when I haven't had to exhaust myself through extensive amounts of hard work to make money. And actually there is some evidence of that in my life, throughout my life. Is there a time maybe for you, Diana, when money maybe did mean something to you, and maybe it arrived at a time of great value to you that was super helpful? Maybe there might have been a time for, I can't see who the Facebook user is that says money means independence, but maybe there was a time that money actually came with strings attached, right? So it's kind of looking at the possibilities of what's true and what's not true, and how might we amplify the things that we'd like to believe about money, that we want to challenge our beliefs about this. So consider how you might feel if the opposite of your limiting belief were true for you. And then how do we do the actual rewiring piece? So when you've gotten clear with a limiting belief that's ready to be pruned, that's ready to get out of your way, to let your abundant garden thrive, what might you need to say to stop that thought pattern? So for me, when I talk about the example of having to work hard to earn money, oh my gosh, Diana just posted that she's in Hawaii working, but also got a free week in Hawaii. How wonderful. So for me, like if that was my example, I believe that I have to work hard to earn things with money, like vacations or being in beautiful spaces. The reality is I can work and thrive in spaces that make me feel really good, or are places of beauty. So those are really interesting things to start thinking about how you might want to speak or believe about, in this example, money, but any other area in your life around limiting beliefs. So there's so many places that we carry this. This week, I would invite you to play with this concept of where your limiting beliefs are, either around the topic of money or any other ones that are coming up for you. This may be around relationships. This may be around body image. This may be around learning. This may be around, maybe you identify yourself as the kind of person that would never, maybe you're always struggling with depression, or, like there's a lot of things that are kind of limiting us from the possibility of something that really is planting those seeds and helping us aim the arrow through the year of where we're wanting to go and how we're wanting to feel at the end of this year. So I'm excited to see how it goes. Please, if you're watching inside the Facebook group, please post comments in there. Let me know how it's going for you. If you're watching on another platform, please give us comments. Let us know what's going on, if it's helpful. Also, if you're finding this kind of information helpful to you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow me on all the socials. Please invite your friends. Also, this content is created for you. And I create these things because I'm hearing what is up for you guys. So don't be afraid to message me. You can post in any of these platforms. What would you like to hear about? Ooh, Diana says, body image limits. Okay, well, I invite you to work with this one this week. So yeah, this is created for you guys. Invite your friends along. Before we wrap up, a couple announcements. Mark on your calendars, please. March 15th, we're going to do another Disrupt the Disruptor 5 days to quieting negative self-talk course. We're going to be doing that course again, and it's been really helpful for people. Every time I teach it, it's just so great because people have such amazing breakthroughs and new understandings. Some of this content that I'm talking about today is part of that course. Again, we will be opening enrollment around that time for the Full Spectrum Vitality Collective, if that's interesting, where we work on stuff like this, and it's really making changes for people. And then, of course, you're welcome to join our Mighty Network if you want to get off Facebook and be in a different place, where all a bunch of information goodies take place. I believe that's my jam for today. If there's any other questions or comments, please post them for me and I'll get back with you. Just a personal note, I'm taking a little break this week. I'm having my first vacation in over a year, and it's going to be an exciting, it's actually a work retreat for me because this business is my baby, and I love working with you guys. I love it, and I get to really put my head down and like dig into some of the upcoming content and ideas and and information I want to share with you. So keep your ears open. There's going to be so much more. I'm grateful for all of you that have checked in today. And of course, the replay will be available shortly. So much love to you all. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye.